Got power. I've been having problems with the audio. Lumberjack Santa is here to talk to you guys a little bit before we get started on this. We are going to do some knife sharpening. I have a bunch of kitchen knives that my wife and daughter absolutely mistreat. And so as soon as we get a few people here, I'll get set up for that. So, yeah. Let's see who shows up for my... I want a ball on the end of my Santa hat, but my wife hasn't figured out how to put one on yet. My wife did make this hat for me. So like I said, Lumberjack Santa or the Lumberjack Elf, you know, however you really want to look at it. We're going to do some knife sharpening when we get some more people here. I don't want to start too early. So before we do that, like, I do have to say, the lighting sucks today because the garage door is not open. Let me open a garage door and see if that helps the lighting. I don't need the lighting so much, but I want you guys to be able to see. For this part, I'm gonna get the overhead set up and adjust the audio. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna sharpen some kitchen knives that my wife and daughter are very, very hard on. This is my wife's current, there's one more. This is one of my wife's favorite kitchen knives. My daughter uses this all the time. I don't know what they're doing to these knives. I have my own kitchen knives that they're not allowed to touch. I use them all the time, and I very rarely have to sharpen them, and they very rarely look like somebody was cutting wire, beating on metal with them. This one's got a really bad spot on it, but we are gonna set up and sharpen. But before that, I thought I would point out, I'd do some recommendations. I do have some recommendations if you're looking for kitchen. This might go away, it's starting to become annoying. I have some recommendations for kitchen knives, and we are going to sharpen a recurve, by the way, guys. We're going to sharpen this. This does need sharpened. This is one of my knives. This is a little fruit knife that is a Dull Strong, really, really nice one, but it does need sharpened. It didn't, out of character for Dull Strong, it did not come all that sharp, but we're going to take care of that. So Dull Strong would be one of the recommendations I would make. I do have an affiliate link with Dull Strong down in the description below. I believe Aiden can do it. If you could put up the link to Dull Strong, my affiliate link for Dull Strong. They do make some really good knives. They're not like the super high-end knives like you see from Melio and things like that, where you're talking literally hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a single knife. They're not that. But they are nice quality knives. Like my wife uses this one all the time. It's a Japanese style poultry knife, things like that. These are my knives. I do let my wife use this one because it's really, really gonna be hard for her to do anything. Their knives are great at the price. They all come really well made. They've got a really good warranty. I've got several Dull Strong knives. I don't use this one as much as I used to because I have the Fair & Forged Knife Works kitchen knives, which are another really, really good option, and I have a coupon code for them down below as well. This is my favorite paring knife. This is my Dull Strong paring knife. I use this, so between this and then I'll get it. Between this and my Fair & Forged Knife Works kitchen chef's knife, those are the two knives I use the most. But the knives we're going to sharpen today are, like I said, this Dull Strong, which, like I said, affiliate link with them is in the description below. Between the Dull Strong knives and the Fair & Forged Knife Works knives, it's pretty much covered. You can save 10% on the Fair & Forged Knife Works knives. I'm going to go get them. You can save 10% on those with my coupon code. It's crazysharp, and this hat's going to go away as soon as we get to sharpening because it's bothersome. But Chris and Elliot over at Fair & Forged Knife Works gave me a coupon code for you guys if you're interested in their kitchen knives that they currently have. I think they have a Christmas sale, but coupon code crazysharp will save you 10%. I personally think this is my favorite chef's knife, just all around. For most things, I do have the larger Dull Strong knife that I use for other things, but this thing is really a good option for a kitchen knife. And they're not that expensive. Like I said, I personally use this one for any of the most of the chopping I'm doing. And then for a paring knife, I use the Dull Strong. So like I said, coupon code crazysharp works at Fair & Forged Knife Works, and then there's an affiliate link down below for them. I just wanted to point that out because I do have to sharpen one of the Dull-Strong knives that they sent me, which is this one. So you're gonna get to see how to sharpen a recurve. Probably do that one first. It's gonna be the most problematic. So I've got to get the overhead filming rig set up because I can't do it while I'm sitting down. And we're just, Lumberjack Santa's gonna take his hat off. The elf looks not really what I want right now. So I've got to set up this gooseneck for the overhead filming and then get the power set up. So I'm gonna do this. This will be when we do the live sharpenings, I have to set this up because, like I said, if it gets in the way, like it's in my way, if I do it the other way. So I've got some stones that I'm using. I'm not doing like a specific sharpening and things like that. I've got a couple stones out that I'm going to use. These knives aren't going above 1,000 grit. Hey, Tri-State! I've been trying to get a hold of you, and you never answer your phone. And I think it's because I always call your work phone. You may not have that number anymore. So DM me on Instagram because I wanted to talk to you about something. My prototypes are coming, and I would like to get one to you. Jared has one, and I'm going to get him to try and get him to send it to you. So, yeah, we're going to do some of these kitchen knives. And like I said, kitchen knife gifts, Dull-Strong. Yeah, that's probably why I can't get a hold of you, because you never gave me your personal. Just DM me your personal phone number. I promise. I won't abuse it. Yeah, Dull-Strong affiliate link down below. I've got the overhead set up. Tell me if the audio is good. Let me move around. Tell me if the audio is... Still want to be able to get in touch with you. So let's find a way to get in touch. I haven't had enough coffee yet today. It's going. Okay, so the wireless mic is working fine. I wanted to grab one thing. I had it set out. If you have kitchen knives, another thing. If you have kitchen knives, don't use this. I keep this. See how dirty it is? I keep this specifically to show you what not to use. This is a ceramic rod. This is what you should use for your kitchen knives. This doesn't fit in the butcher block. I put this in the butcher block just because I like to keep it to remind people this is not a good thing to use on your kitchen knives. It doesn't do you a good job. This is what you want, which is a ceramic rod. You can get these at Edge Pro. That's where I got mine. They have some of the best ceramic rods, different lengths. But you don't have to get that one. You can find a good one. I just personally think that theirs are the best. Please double tap that screen, drop a like. Okay, I've got to get you positioned. I've got to get you positioned, and I got to relocate my transmitter because it's flopping around. No, you're not going to get that at Ace. If you get one of them at Ace Hardware, it's not going to be a good one. Talked to Alex Steingraber today, by the way, guys. Alex has another run of these coming. He's doing a Vanax run of the Lamia. I talked to him on the phone. We video chatted for a little bit. Go to his website, get on the mailing list so that you get emailed when they open up, because he can't publicize them the way he wants because of the current way he's using Etsy. So, time to switch out of that and into something that doesn't, I don't even need it. There it is. There we go. Ah, that's better. So, you're probably gonna have some audio issues for a second or two because I have to disconnect you and reconnect you to the new power source. So, suffer with garbage audio for a minute. That audio will get better, I promise. I have to relocate the power source. So you guys get to see how this is like doing it live. I can't have everything set up the way I want. There we go. Here we go. That audio. Okay, now tell me if the audio changes while I'm setting you guys up for the overhead shot. We're going to do it this way. Let's see here. There we go. And as with all the sharpening videos, I have to take off my sandals, put on a pair of shoes because I don't want to drop a knife on my foot. It's a nightmare of mine that I would drop a knife on my foot while sharpening. So I'm going to put on some closed-toed shoes. To do this, because we're getting everything set up. So I can't really tell whether you guys are in frame the way I want you to be. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get you guys in frame the way I want you. That's not bad. Did you do it by hand, Tri-State? Or did you use one of those garbage BS fixtured systems? Which, I mean, I get it. Some people can't do sharpening the way I do it. 100% understand. So I think what we're going to do is, a lot of you guys have said that you wanted to see how I sharpen a recurve or a hawkbill. So this is a Dahlstrong Shogun series kitchen knife. This is one of my personal kitchen knives. It's way nicer than it needed to be. TS Prof with diamond stones. This is a more problematic sharpening, and the reason being is with this curvature. I'll show you why. If you try to use a flat stone, you see how there's a gap there? What's going to happen is all you're going to do is turn this into a straight knife by removing material here and here. You can use the very corner of your stone, but that's not great either because you're not getting a really good edge. Is the audio? Okay, the audio, tell me if the audio is fine as I move around, because I forgot to get my water that I need for this. Is it cool? Is the audio moving around as I move? Is the audio following with me as I move around? I pulled a muscle in my forearm yesterday. I pulled a muscle in my forearm, and guys, you're not gonna believe this. This could only happen to me. I dropped my Mayoral, my Migron Mayoral that we were talking about. I dropped it and knocked the tip off of it on the glass underneath this mat, and then proceeded to sharpen it, do a tip repair, and then immediately drop it again on the rubber mat, and it went through the rubber mat into the glass and knocked the tip off of it. So I wound up having to sharpen the same knife twice. So for a hawkbill, I gotta move this cord a little bit. Cord management in my studio is not the best. For a hawkbill knife, depending on the radius, you can get away with a 1-inch stone. Like a 1-inch stone could get you, but this knife has a pretty deep radius, even though, so you see we're still getting a spot where the stone isn't touching. So that means we have to use these little boys here, which are 1/2-inch stones. And that's gonna allow that stone to get into the radius area of that. You see, I'm just making sure I have all the ones I need. And I'm just gonna simply move these stones off over here, and I'm gonna put some water in this container. And we're gonna start sharpening here shortly. I'm gonna soak these stones in this water for a little bit. You don't have to get real fancy with your kitchen knives. Most of the time, your kitchen knives aren't gonna need to be really highly finished. You're not like taking a knife up and in the grit because you want it to have a good bit of cutting capability. So I like to soak these for a minute or two. Gosh darn it. Okay, we got to test this audio again because I am going to be moving around. How does it sound now? I don't know why it keeps doing this, that it disconnects itself. Okay, we're going to have to, this is becoming kind of problematic, and I'm really starting to get irritated with this audio. I spent a lot of money. You say it's fine, but it's not. I spent a lot of money on this microphone system I'm currently using, and if it's not going to work properly, I'm going to be frustrated. So I'm trying to figure something out here. I think I may have isolated the problem. We didn't have power to the entire system. Sorry, you guys are gonna get motion sickness. Let's try this one more time. If this doesn't work, we're just gonna not worry about it. How is the audio now? If I move around, does the audio follow me? If I move around, we're doing a test. This is fuck it, we're doing it live. So is the audio corrected now? So the only way to do this, if you don't, I don't like fixtured systems. If you do a recurve, you're simply going to want to have a stone that is going to get into the radius of that knife. And as you can see, the way I do it can be a little precarious, but I'm not putting any pressure. I'm allowing the stone to do the work. And this is not a super hard steel, so it shouldn't be that hard to start reprofiling that edge. And yes, if you do it this way, there is a chance you're going to cut yourself, as indicated by the scarring on both of my hands. But that's just one of the things that goes along with sharpening knives, especially a hawkbill. I've sharpened a lot of knives this way, and I have a specific way of doing it that I'm comfortable doing it, and I may cut myself. Hey, I'm in a position right now, guys, where I can't do it. If my moderators could stay on it, and if somebody's being ridiculous, give them a full 24-hour ban. And if they come back, the next live feed, I will deal with them properly. So this knife did not come to me very sharp from Dahlstrong. It's the only one of the Dahlstrongs that didn't come sharp. And I understand it, doing these on a belt can be problematic. So it feels as though I've got a good, looks like I've got a good burr. I'm trying to keep it in frame, but I also need to be able to see what I'm doing. So let's see. So just like sharpening anything else, where did I put my rag? Where has my rag run off to? I just saw something about PDD. I'm not saying you in particular. That perked me. Remember, guys, no politics, nothing that is going to be considered offensive, because I try to keep it family. I do curse, but I try to keep it as family friendly as someone that curses as much as I can. So little trick, lighting's kind of weird. I can't really see as well as I want. We're using the magic marker trick. Pretty simple. Put the magic marker on the knife like you're cutting the tip in half. Sweep it up, and you should be able to get a dark line on the blade. You let that dry, and what that's going to tell you is anywhere where you haven't removed enough material, you're going to see that the black magic marker has stayed on the blade. I've done this for years to demonstrate. I don't necessarily need it, but the lighting is weird today, and I'm pretty sure I'm not hitting the tip as consistently as I would like. But the nice thing about kitchen knives is they are pretty easy because they're fairly thin. Okay, yeah, you can see a little bit of a dark line at the very, very tip there. So we're just gonna go ahead and a little bit of extra on that. There we go. There we go. Now, see the other side? You can see black magic marker. We'll see if we've removed all of it. I'm gonna get your stone in the same position each time. I like to just let it rest on the pad of my index finger and the heel of my hand. You can see I'm touching. I'm trying to be very careful. I have stabbed myself with a through and through doing it this way on a larger knife. Smaller knife's not a problem. I was doing a fillet knife and it slipped. So yeah, we need to focus a little bit more on this side than the other. Anthony, hello. The camera is in a position that's weird. I am going to get my other device, and I'll set that up in a minute and monitor the comments and things like that, so I can see what you guys are saying. So yeah, we've formed a burr on that side. Now we're going to go back to this side. And then back and forth. And we're just going to continue. I'm trying to get this. This stone is fairly worn. So it's a little bit thinner than I would like. I don't do recurves that often anymore. So I just haven't replaced my 1/2-inch stones in a while. You can see that the material on this stone is fairly thin as opposed to this 1000 grit, which is a good bit thicker. These stones do wear out, but this isn't like a super steel. I'm just using the aluminum oxide stones. We're gonna go ahead and go up in grit now to the 400 grit. So that's 600, that's 1000. We just did the 220. So this is the 400. And all we're doing is just, now that we've don't spam my chat, bro. I mean, I've done it before. The stone is fairly I've got the stone in a fairly stable position. This stone's a good bit thicker than that last one. I've done this enough times to know when to stop. And I'm focusing on this. View. Okay, what we'll do here is user 24-hour timeout, sir. There we go. Do a quick couple burr removal passes on that. And then we'll I've done a kukri on these stones. I did a video years ago, where I did a kukri on these exact stones. Bollywood Diary. I've sharpened a lot of interesting knives in interesting ways. There we go. With this being a fruit knife, I'm only going to, well, no, I'll take it to 1000 grit. I'll take it all the way to 1000 grit. So we did 220, we did the 400, and if you notice, I screwed up. I don't like doing this. The 220 went back in the water, but the 400 didn't. That prevents grit contamination, but these are not customer knives. These are my knives, so not as concerned. So these narrow stones allow me to get into the curve of this and not flatten out anything. And these stones cut fairly well on steel like this. So we'll go ahead and we'll do a quick strop on this, because I think that's about where I want to stop. That feels good to me. We'll do a quick strop on this. I have a strop for recurves. This is a loaded strop. This side is about 1200 grit diamond. And then this side is chromium oxide, which is a little bit finer. And that's going to refine that edge a little bit. And then that should be about where I want it as a kitchen knife. Let's go ahead and do a quick test on this and see. That's perfect for what I want it for. So we can put this one away. Let's just figure out where I put the little case for it. There it is. The nice thing about these Dahlstrongs, like I said, if you're looking for for Christmas gift knives. They come with these hard cases. These hard cases are actually really nice. Dahlstrong does a really nice job with providing you something so you can put this in a drawer. I don't keep my Dahlstrong knives. I use them a lot, especially this paring knife. I use them a lot, but I don't put them in the butcher block because when you guys see what my daughter and wife have done to my other kitchen knives, let me put this away. Tell me if the audio changes as I walk away. I've been fighting with this audio this morning. But my wife and daughter are not kind. Well, it's mainly my daughter. My daughter is just now, my daughter's learning to cook for herself. So, I've said it a bunch of times. I had an issue with one Chris Reeves knife. And they had some turnover and stuff like that. I don't have any problem with the quality of the knives they're putting out now. I absolutely love their knives. Anne is a sweet, sweet woman. I have come to appreciate what they're doing over there without Chris at the helm. The audio got lower. Well, fuck me running. Is the audio... I spent a lot of money on this fucking microphone setup. Hang on. I'm going to walk to the kitchen and you guys tell me if the audio has changed. I'm walking to the kitchen and I'm grabbing something and I'm coming back. So if the audio has changed, I would like to know. But that's the problem. I'm using a wireless microphone system. What the fuck? Okay, hang on. Hang on. We're gonna try something. I'm getting very, very frustrated at the moment with this situation with a microphone system that I spent almost $500 on for this specific purpose that is causing me problems. So we're gonna try this right now. Okay, now we're gonna do another audio test. I'm going to walk away and we're gonna see if the audio has stayed consistent when I go all the way to the kitchen. If it has not, then I'm going to... That's what I'm saying. The mic you should hear should not be the camera mic. You should be getting the audio that's coming to this expensive receiver that's connected. All right, well, we're going to do something different. We're going to attempt something different because I want the audio to be the way I want the audio to be. And if it's not going to be the audio I want it to be, then I'm going to contact Rode and figure out what the fuck is going on with my expensive microphone system that I paid a good bit of money for that's now not connecting properly. So we're gonna try this type of stones. I'm using the Edge Pro stones at the moment. How this audio could be screwed up, I don't know. We're gonna try it one last time and then I promise I'll get back to actually doing sharpening. I have to grab stones anyway, so I'm on my way to the kitchen and you guys can tell me if the audio is staying consistent from room to room as it is supposed to. So we're going to move these knives out of the way because I'm not sharpening these. Did the audio get better? Does the audio sound this way it did before, or is it still changing when I go room to room? I understand that. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, then I'm just not going to worry about using this fucking stupid microphone system that I paid $500 for that's supposed to be working, or I'm going to contact them and ask them what the fuck. I had this problem the other day when I was filming, so I don't know what's going on with this. So, just going to run some power I gotta run some power to the actual device itself. I gotta route this power cord to the back of this. I don't care if it sounds. It's not so much that it sounds fine. That's not the issue at the moment. The issue at the moment is I'm currently using a very expensive wireless microphone system. I gotcha. I gotcha. It's not so much that I care for you guys. It's the fact that I'm using a very expensive microphone system that's supposed to work from room to room and has in the past and now is causing fucking problems. And it's not just this specific live feed. I'm having problems with it at other times. Okay, so we are going to work on some kitchen knives. I gotta put these away. Spend all kinds of goddamn money on equipment and you expect it to work and then it just fucking doesn't. Anyway, there is no software settings for it. It's a direct connection to the device through a wire. And it's been working fine for weeks and weeks and weeks. Okay, so this is a diamond plate. You use this for, I just disconnected it. I disconnected it. We're just using the device microphone, and that pisses me off because No, it's not. It's not you. I'm just saying, like, I'm frustrated because I spent a bunch of money to make content better, and it's just not working. So, I mean, the lavalier mic itself was $70. So, I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with the situation. So, at any rate, Aiden sent these to me, and these are a different type of diamond plate than what I've had in the past. This is a tape that's on top of it. And as much as I appreciate it, I don't like these stones. I'm going to tell you, if you see somebody that's selling these 3M, they're the 3M diamond whetstones. If you see somebody, I don't know how much they are. They feel as though they would be kind of expensive. I don't think that this is what you want. It's just basically, this is a fabric that's glued on, and you can see it, the fabric is starting to come loose, and it's fraying and stuff like that. So I don't have a good hard edge. I'm not sharpening all the way edge. It's peeling off. If you're gonna get a diamond plate, I recommend these Atoma plates. And I do have a little bit of rust on this because I sharpened some D2 and it didn't get cleaned off. These Atoma diamond plates are the way to go. So absolutely, these are what you want for like all of your sharpening. This would be the direction I would go. All right. These are a steel plate on top of an aluminum plate. You can replace these plates if you want, or you can find a plate that is, so you can have two different grades. This is a 240, and then you can put a finer one on the other side. This is an Atoma, and this has been the best lasting one. Now mine does need to be replaced. Mine is starting to lose a little bit of its cutting potential, but it's still pretty good. This is a vitrified diamond stone that Aiden sent me as well. If he wants to post up the info on where you can find these, this is about the best stone I've ever had. It's 400 grit. It's really, really coarse. It's really, really strong, and it has been holding up. I'm pretty sure that I only need this stone. I don't need this stone to reprofile. These knives are, while they are bad and have been getting bad, you can see there's a little chip on this one. There's a little chip here. There's a little chip on this. You can see it better from this side, like in this area. My daughter is hard on my kitchen knives. So even though this is a 400 grit and I could use these coarse reprofiling, I don't think I need to, because these knives are not the hardest knives out there, and they are not real thick. So they're kitchen knives. Kitchen knives are fairly easy. So we're gonna go with this stone to start, this 400 grit, and we're gonna wedge this in here. I made some shims to make this fit. I'm gonna need that to get it out because this one does not work as well. And this is a vitrified diamond stone that is, it acts more like a water stone than a diamond plate. It's much easier to use. It's a better cutting stone than the diamond plate. It gives you a more consistent edge, and I like water stones. We're gonna use the 400 grit and then immediately jump to this 1000 grit, which is a Shapton. This is a Shapton Pro, or I'm sorry, yeah, this is the Shapton Pro. This is their ceramic. This is their orange medium. I have also got the 8,000 grit for this, the 10,000 grit, and I have a 15,000 grit or 17,000 grit, I believe. But these are great stones. They cut really well. They are a ceramic style stone. They're a splash and go, so I put a little bit of water on them. I don't think it's going to take us very long to get this one. I will do the Sharpie trick again for you guys. Yes, that is a Japanese stone. Once again, nerve damage in my hand. I got a little bit of shake and palsy, which is why I dropped the knife twice yesterday and had to retip it twice. I now have a black line, the full length of the blade, all the way through the apex, so I can see if I've removed all the material I need to remove. We're simply going to start on this stone at the angle that I know I sharpened this at. And I'm going to maintain that angle. I'm not going to change that angle at all. And I know that I need to remove some chips. You can see a low spot at the tip here. I don't know why. This knife has always had a low spot, but we don't use the tip of the knife as much. And I don't sharpen this knife all that much. So you can see, pretty much removed everything at the apex. This is not a great kitchen knife. These aren't great. These Heckles & McCoy, everybody's like, oh, Heckles & McCoy, they're the best. No, they're not. They're really not that good. These are some cheap knives that just are general use knives for doing stuff. My daughter's allowed to use them. She's not allowed to use my nice expensive ones. So we go side to side. We feel that we've formed a burr on both sides. We look and make sure that we've removed the material from side to side. I've got a burr on both sides. What I really need to do is make sure that I've removed the chips that are in this. So, oh, that's right. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot. I was going to grab another device so that I could keep up with the chat, because where I'm standing, I can't see the chat. I apologize. I said I was going to do that, and I am not. View me. View my channel. Got it. I'm pulling up the live so that I can see you guys' chats. I apologize. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to do that a couple more times. This knife has reached a point where it's been sharpened enough times that we're starting to get down into these little areas here, which is going to start affecting the edge. And at that point, you basically just get rid of the knife. You basically just get rid of the knife because it's not going to get you where you want to go. So we're going to do a couple more passes on this stone, and this stone needs to be resurfaced. It has sharpened a few knives at this point that have had some damaged areas on it that we're dragging through. And so, yeah, we've completely removed all the Sharpie on that. And so I recommend to save wear on your next stone, and that's fairly aggressive edge. We're looking to see, I've removed the chips. This is thin, and you can see, like I said, we're starting to get down into these areas, which are the release for when you're cutting fruit, or when you're cutting like potatoes, something that might stick to the blade. You're getting into that area of those, and then you've basically been through the life of the knife. This knife was owned by someone else, and it had already been fairly worn by the time we got it. So we're gonna go ahead, move this to the side, move this stone over. We're gonna do the same thing on this, but to save you like kind of doing some digging into your stone, I recommend taking a cork or a piece of balsa wood or something, and you just pull the knife. I did some burr removal passes, but that is going to remove some of that burr. It's going to peel it off, right? And just using a wine cork is a really good way to do that. It peels off the burr, and it saves your stone from being like you're dragging that burr across the stone. That's what they're for, yes, I know, but I just don't like the way it leaves material on the stone and things like that. So how do you deburr a knife with a chisel grind? I can show you that a little bit later. I have a chisel ground kitchen knife. So we're going to start. So our last pass on this stone, on the last stone, was here. My first pass on this stone is going to be here. I try to start on the opposite side. That way the burr, any burr that's on there, I'm removing it here first and then forming a new one. And I just kind of go until I feel as though the edge is giving me a consistent glide across the stone. Now I formed a burr going this direction, right? I formed a burr going this direction, maybe a little bit more at that very tip of that knife. I'm not putting any pressure on the stone, or I'm not putting any pressure on the knife. I mean, I'm just letting the weight of the knife kind of do it. You don't want to put pressure on a stone. You're just going to wear out your stone. So now I formed a burr going this way. I'm going to go back this way. Got things in the way. And you can see you're moving material off of this on the stone. This isn't a true water stone, so you're not forming a slurry. That's simply metal. This is not the same as a lot of other water stones where you want to leave that material on there. You're trying not to load the stone. I'm going to go back and forth a few times because I could tell I formed a burr. Now, this is a 1,000 grit stone. It's not removing a lot of material. So I'm not really, it looks like it, but it's not that much material when you really look at it, to be honest. So I'm gonna do a couple burr removal passes. I'm gonna wipe that off. I'm pretty sure I'm already where I want to be with this. That's a fairly aggressive edge on that. I'm going to go ahead and do one more light burr removal pass on that because it felt like it still had a bit of burr. I'm going to do the same little trick with the where I put my cork. Oh, I have another one. Couple little burr removal passes on the cork, just to make sure I've stripped off the majority of that burr. I'm gonna hit it on this loaded strop once or twice. That's gonna ensure that the rest of it's gone, and just lay that edge up on a final unloaded strop. Just a bare leather strop. There's no diamond or anything in this. And then on that final bare leather unloaded, and then we'll just do a quick edge test, and that's going to be right where we're at and where we want on that knife. So that's all you need, and it is in fact shaving sharp. So let me put this one back in the butcher block. I'll be right back. Give me just a second. I don't leave a sharp knife lay. So that was a fairly easy knife to do, and it's the same process for any knife of any. Oh, can you see this? You guys see the glint on this? Where my daughter has just, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what she thinks she's doing with the. I have no idea. I'm gonna go rinse this. I'll be right back. I really don't know how she's so hard on my kitchen knives, but she really is. I don't know if she's like cutting on plates or what, but so this knife is going to be basically the same. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to clean that off just a little bit. Sharpening does make a mess, but it's a good skill to have. So same thing. I know what angle I want this at. No pressure. You don't need to. This is a really aggressive stone. I'm not putting pressure down on with that finger. I'm simply guiding the stone. I've got a burr formed almost the entire way. And this is just a cheap little Chicago cutlery knife. I put this in the block and put away the good slicer because my daughter did start using this knife a lot. And I'm like, okay, I'll put the good one away. When she finds her own house, she can screw up her own knives. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure she's still going to bring them back to Dad for sharpening. She got 100 on the practicals part of her midterm for her major for computer science. So I formed a burr. I'm going to do that a few times because this is a cheap steel and it was fairly damaged. So you want to make sure you remove any material that has possibly had flex and things like that. So when you have dents, you have dings in the blade and chips and things like that, it's a good idea to remove a little bit more material than you don't just want to only remove just the material that was chipped or bent or dinged, because the fact is that the material behind that is also going to have been stressed. And so when there's stress on the material, it can really screw up some of the heat treat, or not the heat treat, but it can definitely fatigue the metal. It's like bending a paper clip. When you bend a paper clip back and forth, right? Eventually it's going to crack because you're inducing stresses into that material. It's basically like cold forging. It's hardening the steel. And so it work hardens and then it breaks. Same thing happens when you hit into something hard and you damage the edge. The material behind it has also been damaged, even though it might not appear to be. And so that material is going to basically break off faster than it would have if it hadn't been. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I said, like bending a paper clip. So bending a paper clip would be the best analogy. So we're basically removing that material from side to side. I like to call it passing the burr. If you can hear, I'm dragging the burr. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that a few more times because this is a fairly damaged edge. And learning to maintain your angle can be a time-consuming thing. I've done it so many times. I know exactly what angle I want on this. So I've basically removed enough material back and forth. There's not a great heat treat on this steel. So we're going to do a couple, just real quick, burr. And this steel is cheap. The same thing with the last knife. You form a burr even when you try not to. It's not real easy to deburr. I mean, I got the majority of the burr off, but like I said, cork, the soft cork material is not going to, it's going to grab the burr. Yeah, most of that burr is gone now. It's almost all gone. So we finished going this way. So this way, I always try to go the opposite direction. So I just remember which way I started. Put those away, I don't need them. So I'm gonna wet the stone again. I'm gonna make sure you guys are in frame. I don't want to get much grit contamination. This stone does lose a little bit of its diamond, and it does kind of make a slurry where you can see a little bit of the stone. So it's always advisable just to make sure you've got a good clean knife, and try to keep the grit contamination to a minimum. So I'm just trying to go gently back and forth. I was trying to feel it out, but it's cutting fairly fast. There's a little spot on this that needs, there we go. I can just feel it on the stone. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna remove the old scratch pattern. We're going to pass the burr back and forth from side to side to remove any fatigue material, and like I said, removing the scratch pattern from a previous stone. And then we'll do a couple passes, and I'm listening for the edge to tell me that the burr is gone. And we'll do just a couple burr, a little bit of fabric. We'll do a couple light burr removal passes. This towel is kind of leaving some fabric residue, but you can see we removed some of the stone, we removed some of the knife. So we got a really good aggressive edge on that. Once again, wine cork, remove anything that's left in the burr. This one doesn't feel as though it needs to go on the loaded strop. We're gonna go ahead and just do some final stropping on a raw leather unloaded strop. I like the way the edge feels coming off of this, better than I do coming off of a loaded strop, especially considering this is 1,000 grit. The loaded strop takes it to 1,200. It's a higher grit, so I'm technically polishing the edge. On this, all I'm doing is just laying up the edge. Yep, just a wine cork. It removes the material. The wine cork will remove any bit of the burr that we might have missed in the burr removal passes, and then the strop does the rest of it. So a wine cork, an actual cork, not the fake corks, but the material of cork or a piece of balsa wood, they grab the residual burr that's on there and peel it off if you didn't get it all off during the burr removal process on the stone. So it's an extra little step. It's an extra little step to give you a better possible end result. There we go. That knife's done. And then we got one knife left. And this is a little boating knife that I've had this boating knife since my first apartment in Japan. This was a Farberware set that I've had since I was probably 19 or 20. To put that in perspective, I'm 50. So I got this when I was like 19 or 20. I've had this knife for about 30 years. It's still not a bad little knife. I like the handles on them. They're not great steel. But these were not a bad little set of knives. This was it back in the day when you could get a cheap set of knives that was not horrible from some of these companies. This one's not a bad one. That's why we still have it. I need to put this knife away. I will be right back. And we're going to do that one same as the others. Same as the others. It is a little bit thicker material. It's probably going to take a little bit more work, but they're not real hard. What's up, Mark? They're not real hard steel, even though they're a little bit thicker. So it shouldn't be that hard to do, but you can see, I don't know how she's done it. My daughter has managed to knock the tip off of that knife, cutting into something. So this knife's getting to a point where it probably needs to be looking at getting replaced. I've sharpened it down to significantly less material than it was when I first got it. So same as the other knives. Simply going to set our burr on our coarse stone. We're gonna just pass that burr from side to side a few times, just like I said, to remove any fatigue material. Now, when I get done with this, we will talk about how to remove a burr. I slipped off the stone. I slipped off stone. Guys, I'm having a lot of problems with the feeling in my right hand today and yesterday. That's why I dropped a knife twice and had to resharpen it twice. So we're gonna remove the burr, do one more burr removal pass each way with no pressure, and we're going to look and see we've basically reprofiled that material that was missing off that tip. Got a very aggressive edge on that. I don't like the edge to be quite that aggressive. Now once again, the cork should peel off some of that burr. So depending on what you're cutting, for cutting meat, if you're cutting a lot of meat, a coarser grit will get you a better end result. You don't want to go too coarse, or then you wind up tearing meat. But I would say 600 to 800 grit would be a great, if you have a meat knife, if you're using it to slice beef and things like that. 600 would probably be a really good grit. 600 to 800. These knives, we use them for a lot of different things, so I typically take them all to 1,000. If I have a knife that I'm only cutting fruit and vegetables with, I'm typically going to go with a finer edge. A harder vegetables, it doesn't really matter, like carrots and things like that. But if you're cutting potatoes and some other things, a finer edge might be a better option. So once again, simply going to do the same process as last time. I will go grab that chisel ground knife and I will show you how to remove a burr, because my wife has been using it. She was boning a bunch of chicken and things like that, and taking apart some chicken. So this stone cuts so well, even for a finer, like 1,000 grit stone. This stone cuts really, really well. And I recommend doing what you just saw me do. If you're using your stones, flip your stones from side to side so that you're not wearing the stone. And then try to use, Murray Carter used to talk about this all the time when he does sharpening videos. Try to use all of the stone. And then I have another knife. I'm going to show you something that I've been doing on my wife's knife for years, because she has one that she likes but doesn't cut the way she wants. So I kind of modified that knife for her. And this knife, so this knife, because I use it, this is the one we all use. This has a right-hand bias. Can you see how I've given the edge almost a chisel style? Like the bevel is wider on this side. That's because I'm cutting it I've got it almost like I'm working it over a little bit more chisel ground. It's intentional. This knife has a right-hand bias because I am right-handed. My wife is right-handed. My daughter is right-handed. I don't do that to all of our knives, but on some knives, like these knives, like this one, it gives it a better cutting ability. So you can give it a different angle from one side to the other. It's called biasing the knife. It's only a little bit, but you can very visibly see that one bevel is wider than the other. I've right hand biased that knife. And so we'll remove the burr on that. We'll hit it on this strop a couple times, just to remove any of the other burr that's left. This is just a bare leather. It's not loaded. This is just leather. And we'll do the finish side. And then we'll grab another piece of phone book style paper. If you don't like that, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna see if maybe I missed a little bit of burr. We'll do it on this loaded strop here with some chromium oxide, and this needs to be cleaned up, but I mean, it's shined a little bit. So see if that changed the way that was cutting. It just felt a little coarse through that paper. It could have been this sheet of paper, who knows? But that's more what I wanted. So that one's done. Let me put it away, and I will go get that chisel ground knife and show you. Because someone asked, and I do. I like to provide answers. So this is a chisel ground knife. So you can see it has the edge here and then basically nothing here. So the way you would do this is you do most of your sharpening. So your primary amount of sharpening is going to be on this side. So we'll just do it a couple times. I'm not trying to like reprofile this knife. It just needs a quick touch up. So you're gonna sharpen, you're gonna do all your work on this side, right? And this is a very hard steel on this. I think this is, I can't remember what steel this was on this. But basically, you can do a lot of work on here on this side, right? And I have formed a bit of a burr. I have formed a bit of a burr on here. Right? So now we formed a little bit of a burr on this. So simply all I'm going to do on the chisel side is I'm going to lay it flat. And that's it. Cyprian, I don't know. And so that's simply it. Simply that one pass, maybe two, just flat on the stone. You lay it flat and you just drag it, and it will knock that burr back off. And then you simply can go back and grab your strop, and you do the same thing you do with your other knives. You just simply, you just lay this up on its angle, and then you just lay this one flat and bring it back across your strop. That's the best way to do it. Now that is really, really sharp now. Chisel ground knives are always going to be acutely sharp. But that's all you have to do. So you just do a bunch of work on this side, right? You just sharpen and sharpen and sharpen on this side, and then simply knock the burr off this side. They're actually really easy to do because you only have to find the angle for one side. It's a very simple process dealing with a chisel ground knife. Now, setting the initial profile can be I had to reprofile this. I don't necessarily, how do I say it? I don't necessarily like chisel ground knives for kitchen knives for a lot of things, but they are really resilient, and for what this knife is designed for, which is a poultry knife, it does a really good job. Let's just go ahead. We'll just do a little bit more on this. Do a little bit more on this because just to show you, so you can spend a good bit of time on this side. Good bit of time on the main side of this, right? And then simply wipe it down real good, and then just do a trailing pass. Maybe two, depending on how much work you did. But you want to feel that and see if you've completely removed that burr. So now if you have, it's simply a matter of, like I said, clean it up good. If you want to make sure that you've completely removed the strop of the burr, like I said, through some wine cork to peel off any residual burr that you may have missed. It's a very good thing. And I mean, if you have friends, I don't drink wine, but I have friends that drink wine. They're easy to come by. The stiffer the cork, the better. Some of the cheaper wines have softer cork. Like this is a fairly soft cork. This is, I think, from a more expensive brand of wine, and it is a coarser, harder cork. So that would probably do you a better job. But now that, like I said, now having done that, this knife is just insanely sharp. And for if you are doing leather work, yeah, you're doing a lot of chisel ground knives. So for some things, they're great. They do have a, this is a ceramic stone. This is a Shapton ceramic whetstone. Now, there's another thing you can do with some of these knives that aren't great and don't cut well. This is the old Farberware that came with that knife set that I was talking about, and it was a hollow grind. It was thick, and my wife loves this knife, but she said that she didn't like how it cut. So what I did was I basically made this into a Scandi grind by hand. And it's really simple. With a Scandi grind, you just set it, you find the angle where the knife is going to be, and you just do full passes. So basically it's like a zero grind on that from the origin of the thing up. So you can see I'm just removing all of the material, and I rock it a little bit because it's got kind of a convex to it now. That's another way you can do. That's another way you can do it. Now I formed a burr on that because it's very, very thin. So this now is a very sharp knife. Even though it's a fairly cheap knife, it's a very sharp knife. And it does pretty well now that it's had this modification done to it of being turned into a Scandi. So if you want to do that, it's time consuming. Murray Carter did a whole bunch of videos on how to do it, but you can see from side to side, we've removed material on this at multiple angles. And you can see the multiple shoulders. I don't know what's going on with the crucible situation. I haven't been following anything. Aiden, you would have to send me some links to some stuff for me to look it up. So there's that. That knife is fairly sharp. This does form a burr consistently from side to side, no matter how hard. Now, how hard you try to do it, you're gonna have a burr that forms. So I recommend, here it is. For something like this, I recommend harder wood. This is like oak or pine for this handle. That's gonna help you knock that burr off a little bit, and then you're definitely gonna wanna use the loaded strop just to remove any further burr, because this is just cheap. It's cheap steel. It's hard to deburr, especially now that I've thinned that material out. And so now that I've made sure I've removed that burr, this should be fairly sharp. This knife, I don't use it. Well, it's fairly sharp. Crucible might be closing their doors in 90 days. Why would that be? Let me go rinse this stone off quick. I'll be right back. Is it because people have been complaining about their steels and inconsistencies in their steels? I noted it when I made knives. I talked about it. People gave Guy from Survive Knives a hard time. He was kind of screwing people, but the fact was he wasn't wrong about inconsistencies in their steel. I noted it. Elliot Williamson noted it. We Knife Company noted it. A bunch of companies have noted that there were problems with their steels. If that's the issue, then by all means, I agree that they might need to close their doors. This knife probably needs to be reprofiled, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, so now I'm going to put you guys back in a facing me position. If you have any questions, we can talk about it, and I can kind of do some like face-to-face demonstrations. Let me grab that tripod and set this up. Now I'm gonna move you guys. And I'm curious about the Alex Steingraber did a video. I just talked with Alex this morning. I'm gonna have to talk to him and see what's going on. I don't know what's going on with that. I find that curious. I may reach out to Alex after this and see what Alex says. So it makes a mess when you sharpen, especially if you freehand sharpen on water stones. So yeah, the big thing about sharpening is keeping consistent angles. Keeping consistent angles is the big thing. And I am cleaning up this water, and we are going to retry this microphone system and see. I've had problems where like I have to restart my device. So we're gonna see. I'm not gonna restart my device. We're not doing that. I just want to see if I can get consistent audio with this, because it's consistently pissing me off. So I do know that there were problems with their steels. I talked about it. Elliot talked about it. Some other people have talked about it. I think it has something to do with the way they store their materials before they get processed. It's iPhone. And it's been working fine. Okay. Now, tell me if the audio changed, because I'm going to go grab another cup of coffee. If the audio changes, then we still have problems. So hopefully you guys still are hearing me and hearing me clearly, and it sounds as though there's been no change in the audio because I don't want to get as frustrated as I was before. I am making a cup of instant coffee because my friend has started making his own instant coffee, and I find it to be delightful. He has a he has a freeze dryer, and he makes his own instant coffee, and it is the best instant coffee I have ever had. Did the audio stay consistent? Okay, there we go. I think it's a restrictive move, leaving New York to greener pastures. I can't blame them. If they're leaving New York, then that's it. Oh, fuck. It shouldn't be lower. Does it change when I do this? This should be, when I tap on this, do you hear that? Or do you hear that? Can you hear me clearly? Yes, a little bit plosives. Okay, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it wasn't working before. It shouldn't get lower. Like, it should stay consistent. I can go upstairs. I don't, I'm testing. Like I said, when you spend upwards of, with everything I've got for this microphone system, when you spend upwards of $500, almost $600 for all of the adapters and all the cords and all the receivers and transmitters, regardless of how good it sounds to you, it definitely, the phone mic was louder. Well, I mean, I can adjust the gain on this. That might make it louder. That may have made it better when I changed the gain on that. I turned this on. And you can't, for live feeds, you can't change the setups. Stayed the same? Okay, well, I don't know. I know that, like, I use them for stuff. So the stones that I'm using for sharpening are okay. So the stones I'm using are stones that I have found that I like a lot. And I'm sorry about the lighting. I know it's weird. I don't have my studio lighting set up, and I just recently changed the positioning of overhead lighting at the filming station, which when you're filming overhead is great, but if you're filming face to face, it's not as great. And this isn't like the professional pre-recorded videos where I'm using this stuff. The stones I'm using are stones that I have had really, really good success with. I like the Sharpening Pro ceramics. The Sharpening Pro, these ceramic stones, they are really good. They cut really well. They're more akin to an actual water stone than they are a regular. There we go. How's this? Did that get louder? If I walk over here and I'm off camera, does it sound the same? I'm testing. I'm doing audio testing live. So, how was I saying? The stones that I have are stones that I've collected over time. Aiden did send me that diamond stone that we're using. And so the Sharpening Pro ceramic stones are a really, really good option. So lavalier for the win? Yeah. So hang on a second.
I forgot something. Let me go to the kitchen. Tell me, can you guys still hear me? Is it staying the same? This is something I wanted to get. I meant to grab this. Oh, Christmas gifts, Christmas gifts, Christmas gifts, Christmas gifts. Did it sound? This is Foster Studios. This is the coolest. This is the coolest coffee cup ever. It usually sits on my workbench, but I used it yesterday, so I was cleaning it up. Stayed the same. All right, that means we've isolated my audio issues. The way you clean the Shaptons is pretty simple. It's just, you just rinse them off really good, remove all the material. About every third use, I refinish the top. I refinish the face. I reface them. And so for this one, it's really, really simple. I've started using this one because I don't sharpen with this. This is a diamond plate, and I simply just mark a grid pattern on the stone, and then I take this stone and I put on top of it, and then I give it 10 passes one way, then I flip it, I do 10 passes the other way, I rinse it off, and I see if the grid pattern that I put on with pencil, don't use a magic marker, if there's any pencil lines still on there, then you need to do a little bit more material removal. But it's simply, as long as you keep them wet and you don't let the material dry on it and you rinse it really good, you're not gonna have any problems. They're easy to clean. If you're using like this type of ceramic, this is the type of ceramic a lot of people think of. These are a different type of ceramic. There's two separate types of ceramic at play here. This is a ceramic stone, but it's not the same as this, which is like glass. This is what a lot of people think of. This is simply barkeeper's friend on a green scrubby pad, and I have one sitting here. You can use Ajax, you can use Comet, you can use whatever you want as whatever specific abrasive cleaner you want to use, and you just basically put some on here. You take one of these green scrubbies, and you just clean out the pores of the steel. This one's needing it. This one's fairly loaded. It probably needs to get cleaned. So what do I think about the Japanese stones? The Shapton stones are great. I have a bunch of other stones. I have some Naniwa stones. I have some other Japanese stones, and I absolutely love them. But I think personally, my favorites are these Shaptons. You can get the Shapton Glass, you can get the Shapton Pros. I like the Shapton Pros because you get more stone. You pretty much get more stone, more bang for your buck. The Shapton Glass are a thin layer on top of on a glass plate. I don't know why people seem to like those so much. They don't seem to me to be what I would want. And if the audio changes, let me know, because I'm moving cords and things like that. So good kitchen knives are a really good thing. I love having really good kitchen knives. That's why I like the Ferrum Forge one stuff. So let's see, stayed the same. Okay. I found that if I bump or screw with those cables that attach it to the device, then we start running into problems. And I don't know what it is. There's got to be a better way. Yeah, I'm getting it hurts already. I've got. So if you guys don't know, I've got a very, very bad shoulder that's going to require surgery before too long. So it is starting to hurt. So what's the highest grit I would go on a kitchen knife? I mean, it just depends on a knife, depends on what you're doing. If you're doing woodworking, the higher the grit, the better the finish. So as you're sharpening a knife, you're forming these serrations. And here's a good point. This knife is a fairly coarse edge on it. I know you can't see it, but it's not shiny like some of the other knives. What you get sometimes is some of your steels don't, how do I explain this? Some steels do a really good job at higher grit, like, and they stay aggressive, like 14C28N, DC53, S90V, S110V, S125V. Those are great, and they stay aggressive. Other steels, the grain structure is too fine, and when you get up into the higher grit, they don't cut as well as aggressively. But if you're doing woodworking, where you want that cut to be clean and require less sanding, like on a chisel or things like that, the higher you go up in grit, the better your finished cut's going to be. So if you're sharpening chisels, and they're finished chisels, they're ones you're using for like cleaning up, or planer blades or things like that, the finer the grit, the finer the cut, the less cleanup you're going to have to do. So for something like that, straight razors, another case in point where you want to go really, really high up in the grit because you don't want an aggressive coarse edge. You want it to be a smooth, just pops through the hair and then leaves it doesn't pull, it doesn't tug. So for something like that, minimum, if you're doing woodworking, like finished woodworking planes, finished chisels, like for guitar work and things like that, at a minimum for those, 10,000 grit. This is a straight razor only 10,000 grit, and then I have one that's for chisels and knives and things like that. At a minimum, this is the finest stone. I also have a 17,000 grit that's upstairs. I don't use it except for straight razors. So the finer you can go up on something like that, the better. Shapton, 30,000. I have a 17. I have a 10. I have the 1,000. I have the 8,000. I have a 5,000, 8,000, 10,000. Oh, you're right. It is a 12,000. I have a 12,000. What is this one? This is 12,000. I have a 10,000. I already showed you a 10,000. This is a 12K. This is a 10K. This is a 10,000 grit, 12,000 grit. I have a 5,000 grit, 8,000 grit, 10,000 grit, 12,000 grit. Upstairs, I have a 17,000 grit, and it's not a Shapton. I forget what one it is. My father-in-law got it for me. Like I said, certain things require finer stones. And it is this, I just sat on these. This is why I buy reading glasses in packs of 5 at a time, because I'm hard on shit. Like I said, there are use case scenarios for a knife at that fine of a grit. Kitchen knives, not really. Woodworking knives, yes. Carving knives, yes. Chisels. Like I said, if you're wanting a good clean finish, like say you're doing carving, like you're carving birds and things like that out of some softer wood, super fine grit is going to give you a smoother finish, and you're not going to see trailing lines from the edge of that knife. Planer blades, things like that. But for average use, most of my knives are at about, like this one is at about 1,000 grit. It's a good all-around edge on this. Some steels don't like anything above 600 or 800 grit. They get a little slick, and it has to do with the grain structure of the steel. So that's what you have to think about as well. I'm not a fan of MagnaCut. It's a great steel, but I think it's one of those steels that would do well in a scenario, like I said, like woodworking tools, like chisels, planer blades, things like that, where you want a super fine edge. For me, I want something a little bit more aggressive. That's why I like S90V, 14C28N. This M390MK is a really good steel that seems to, at almost every grit, do pretty well. And I think I know what's going on with our sound. I know what's going on with our sound. You know what happened? These fucking things like to try and continue to... I saw the light kick on these. These are trying to connect to my phone. Give me a moment. There we go. That's exactly what's happening. This is what was happening. Have you ever sharpened a hook knife? I just did on this video, Miss K. If you go back to when I first started sharpening knives, I did the hook bill knives. I did one. It's not out here now. I did a hook-built fruit knife. You got to have specific. He got fed up and hit the self-destruct button. I'm back. Please tell me you can see me. Somebody tell me that I didn't go. Tell me that I didn't go. Okay. When should I not use any stropping compounds? Okay. I've said this a bunch of times. So here's my take on it. I have a lot of strops that are loaded. We talked about that in a video. I have 2 of them here. This one is loaded. This one is loaded one side with a 1200 grit diamond, the other side with chromium oxide. So 2 different grits. Some steels work really well on that. This is a loaded strop. I have several loaded strops. This is how I usually look at it. If I've been using a knife and it doesn't feel dull, but it doesn't cut the way I want, I'm just going to grab this strop, which has no compound on it, right? This has just got a coarse leather side, which is suede, and then a finished leather side that's shiny. If I've been using a knife for a little bit, I can just put it on this strop. I'm not removing any material. I'm not burnishing the edge. It's not removing any scratch pattern, and I can just kind of touch that edge up. And we talked about it in the video. If you haven't seen the video, you can go back to it. That's my first step, is always, if it still does not quite feel like it's as sharp as I want, and this knife gets used all the time, and it does need a good strop, probably needs a sharpening. But we're going to walk through this real quick because this is a sharpening video. I will then, if that didn't do it, if the bare leather strop didn't do it, I'll take the loaded side of one of these strops, one of these loaded strops. This is, like I said, about 1200 grit ceramic on this finished leather, or I'm sorry, diamond spray that I got from EDC and Lace over at EDC and Lace on Instagram. She sent me a whole bunch of her diamond strop compounds. You can see how heavily loaded it is. Look how much diamond is down in there. I have not reloaded these because it lasts for a very long time. Nice finished leather strop with a little bit of that on there. I'm going to touch it up on there, and I'm going to see, does that get me where I want? If it does, I stop there. If it doesn't, I will then grab this ceramic rod and then hone it, strop it again, and see if we got where we wanted to go. If that does not work, if a raw leather strop doesn't get it, and then a combination of the diamond loaded strop and the bare leather strop doesn't get it, then it's time to go to hone. If that doesn't get it, and then you go back through those steps and do the finished stropping, then you gotta go and put it on a stone. Fortunately, I don't need to do that right now because that diamond strop brought that AEBL back up where I want it, and now it is very, very much back to the edge I want it, and that's all it took. You don't immediately have to sharpen, but you also don't have to immediately strop. I recommend a non-loaded strop for the majority of your stropping because the problem you're going to have with using that diamond strop, that diamond loaded strop, more times, you're going to eventually burnish that edge to a point where it's not exactly what you want. Now, 1200 grit diamond on that, that's not real aggressive. Technically, it's a hone at that point and not just a strop. But I'd absolutely recommend, and I find that the edge you get off of just raw leather that has not had a compound put on it just really gives you a very crisp edge. It just feels different coming off of raw leather than it does coming off of a loaded strop. Using a strop to bring your edge back into alignment will save you a lot of time, and it also is going to save a lot of life of your knife, because when you do sharpening, like we just did, you are absolutely removing material off your knife. It is an abrasive. Even at 1000 grit, it's still an abrasive. You are diminishing the life on a knife and on something that is meant to last you your lifetime. The more you have to sharpen, the less that knife is going to last. So I personally prefer stropping. Like if I use a knife for a day, before I put it away for the day, it goes on this strop. I'm not removing material. I'm not diminishing the edge on that knife. I'm simply bringing the edge that I may have knocked out of alignment back into alignment, just like you do on a straight razor before you shave with it. This gets stropped daily. I really need to find a non-loaded strop for this, just a raw leather strop, but I do use the edge or corner of this on this just to touch this edge up so that I'm not having to put it on an abrasive loaded strop. I don't want to lose. I touched this up on a ceramic rod yesterday, and then it's absolutely back where I want it. So the less catastrophic option is always the direction to go. Bike 99 Extreme. Well, hi, hey, I don't know who that is. Oh, I was saying I'm trying to get my buddy to start selling this online. He makes absolutely the best instant coffee. He is. How do you say? He was a big game hunting guide, all over, you know, like elk and moose and stuff like that, all over Canada and the northern United States. Raw leather and a couple of dowels would work really well. He doesn't go out on hunts anymore. He basically started an outfitter company, and he now makes his like, he didn't like any of the food that they were buying. He didn't, the customers didn't like the food. He started making his own freeze-dried meals, and he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to freeze-dry coffee so these guys don't have to actually like make coffee. And he sent me some, and he's like, tell me what you think. And I'm like, holy shit, that is the best instant coffee I've ever had. So if Ricky starts doing that, I will absolutely let you guys know, because he sent me some of the freeze-dried meals that he provides to the people that he is outfitting for these hunts, and they are amazing compared to some of the crappy stuff that you're getting at like REI and stuff like that. So stones that I recommend, the Shapton stuff. There's a lot of really good stones out there. You don't have to break the bank, but the Shapton stuff is about the best bang for the buck. These Shapton Pros, Alex over at Outdoors 55 and I both agree this is probably the best all-around stone you're going to get. This is their orange medium from Shapton Pro. You have a Amazon link down below. I have affiliate links to a lot of this stuff, where you can get stuff. A lot of it's down below, but just use that link for the Amazon store down below, and then you can search it. The Shapton Pros are on there. These things are under 50 bucks, and they are an incredibly good stone. When you start looking at that Diamond 400 grit that is still in its, let me remove it from its current stone prison with my shims here. I made shims so that I could use this Dahlstrong base. Dahlstrong has some really good stones too. I have an affiliate link with Dahlstrong down below. Their stones, if you're just doing kitchen knives, they're really good. They are aluminum oxide stones. They are really, really good. It doesn't matter. The link down below should work regardless. These are more expensive. This is a very nice loaded, or no, I'm sorry, not loaded, vitrified diamond stone. So it's diamond that's set in a ceramic matrix. It does not feel like a diamond plate, doesn't wear like a diamond plate, cuts really aggressive, cuts nice and consistent. But it doesn't matter whether it's US or not. If you use it, it'll still, it basically takes you to Amazon using my affiliate. So I think when you order things, it doesn't really matter, because my mother-in-law uses my Amazon affiliate, and I get stuff that they buy in Japan on Amazon. I get credit for it, so I don't think it matters. But yeah, sharpening is a really good skill to have. I've done a lot of these videos where I talk about how to do things. But it's also, oh, well, what are you doing? What are you doing, big boy? I got my pup. I got he's wearing his flannel shirt as well. My wife made My wife made a flannel shirt for him. Oh, I forgot we're doing the forward-facing thing. Where's my proper headgear for this? I took it off. Yeah, lumberjack Santa. I forgot we were doing this. I forgot we were doing the face-to-face thing. So yeah, lumberjack Santa has returned. Sadly, it will not redirect me to. Dang. Okay. Well, that sucks. My wife made a flannel Santa's hat as a prop. She made one for the dog, but he doesn't like it, so he won't wear it. But he's wearing a Chunky. Come here, bud. Come. Oh. Let's see if I can do this without screwing up the microphone system. He's laying there wearing his black and white flannel. He has a red flannel that matches mine. He has a red flannel that's the exact same material as this. So, but yeah, I wish I could do more of the sharpening videos. It just depends on how my shoulder feels from one day to the other. I don't mind answering questions about sharpening. There is a full sharpening tutorial series that I filmed that's available to the premium tier sharpening or paying members on the channel. But I mean, we do this and it's not the same as the step-by-step tutorial series, but you know, people seem to enjoy it. I like doing it. I like seeing you guys here. We currently have had on this specific live feed, let's see here. If you guys have not subscribed, I would really appreciate it. Let's see here. On this specific live feed, we've had 12,000 views on this live feed. So I absolutely want to point this out again as soon as I figure out where I put his knife. I had it in my pocket. There it is. Alex Steingraber is working on a run of these knives in Vanax. If you're a fan of Vanax steel, he's doing a run of the Lamia in Vanax. This is one of the best folding knives. This is one of the best folding knives you're ever going to get. It's 100% American made. Absolutely love this knife. It was in my pocket, and that's what made me think of calling Alex. And I told him, I was like, I've been talking about this in the last few live feeds. Absolutely one of the best knives. They are a little pricey. They're about $700, but you figure he's doing everything by himself. He's a one-man show. He's making everything himself. I mean, he buys some of his fasteners and stuff like that, but like basically he's making the whole knife by himself in his shop, and that's it. Like, it's him. And he does a really good job researching heat treats and things like that. The knives come, if you're somebody that likes washers versus bearings, you can swap out the bearings for washers. It comes with a set of Nylotron, bronze, and bronze washers. You can swap between those two and a set of bearings. So it's like he's figured out how to do it. Could I put a link? Can you put a link up in your description? Unfortunately, Alex's knives you have to go to his website. You have to go to his website and you have to sign up for his mailing list. There is no other way to do it. There's not a link. You just have to go to Steingraber Performance Knives. Steingraber Performance Knives. SPK. Just an incredible, incredible knife. And you want to talk about a dangerously sharp object. And now it tears. The edge profile on this is so thin behind the edge that I did an entire test on this knife, this one that's in my hand, and I cut up an entire like recycling bin, like residential recycling bin full of cardboard after I had taken the edge off of it with a dull knife. Like, I took it and put it on a ceramic rod and went like this on the rod with no edge and cut cardboard for about an hour and then sharpened it. And I was like, oh, fuck, that is, the behind the edge thickness on this knife is so good that then when you do put an edge on it, the edge is just the cherry on top. It's really, the behind the edge profile is not doing. Now, I will tell you, not a knife that you're going to do a lot of hard use stuff, because it is very thin behind the edge. So that edge is not going to be as strong. It doesn't have as much material behind it as, say, does this Spyderco. Spyderco, this has a good bit of material behind the edge. It's a more resilient, more robust knife. To compensate for that, I didn't put a real thin sharpening bevel on this. This is actually a fairly blunt sharpening edge on this, but it doesn't matter because the behind the edge is so thin that all you're using that for is just to break through the material. It absolutely is insane. If I thinned that edge out, it would be even more scary sharp than it is. And his crew wear is some of the best. He's not doing them in crew wear anymore. Rollo the Strop, just touching it up because I did use it a good bit yesterday. It's in my pocket a lot. It is one of my favorite knives that I own. So Alex is a great, great dude. I talk to him fairly regular. I talked to him, like I said, for about 30 minutes before we did this live feed, which is why I didn't test the audio before we started, which is why I was so frustrated. What was this? Mark Burrs' Jesus. Yeah. Yes. That's kind of what I said when I realized. I love fixed blades. Average Joe, as a matter of fact, currently on my belt is this one. The Lon Humphrey Custom Tucson on my right-hand side, and Scout Carry on the left-hand side is my Night Guard by TKL Knives. So yes, I like fixed blade knives. As a matter of fact, you can pick up my fixed blade design, which is in the drawer over here. You can pick up my fixed blade design Scout Carry knife as well for a nice little day-to-day user. You would have to order the soft loops. This is my design, the Artisan Knives Sea Snake. You can get these on Amazon as well. Or you can use my affiliate link down below in the video, below the video in the description, to go to Amazon Actual, and you can get them there and support the channel that way as well, because not only would I get paid my commission from you using my affiliate link, but I get paid a commission from them for you buying my knife. So absolutely love fixed blades. I have an entire milk crate full of fixed blades directly to my right. Things like this. Okay, so I'm not putting, when I say not putting pressure, you have to put a little bit of pressure, but when it looks like there's pressure, it's because leather's soft. Like if you put your fingernail on leather, you don't really have to put any pressure at all for it to deform. So when it looks like there's pressure being put on it, it's not. I'm basically just letting the weight of my hand and knife. I'm not putting any pressure on that. I'm not pushing, because if you push, what happens is you roll your edge. I'm not putting any pressure on that. What you might see is in a video, as when it's up close, you well, Miss K, I have over 3,000 videos on this channel, so you're gonna be able to find my videos pretty easily if you subscribe to the channel and then just go check those out. What you're seeing a lot of times is the leather deforms. It doesn't take any pressure. When you just put that knife on there, you're gonna see a little bit of deformation, and a lot of it is shadow. So it doesn't look like you're pushing. It may look like you're pushing, but you're not. But if you look, like I'm not pushing the end of that down. Just whatever, just like little bit of weight that's the knife, I'm not pushing down on that at all. I think it's just the perception and the angle it's filmed at and things like that. I don't put any pressure on the stone when I'm sharpening, because if you're doing it, you're wearing out your stone. If you push too far down on your strop, if you push down on your strop, you're also going to damage the leather, and the leather's not going to last as long as it would if you just gently allow it. And if you're like I said, if you're using like a bare leather strop that has not been loaded, you can do this all day, and you're not at all changing or burnishing your edge. You're not removing any material. Guys, if you're here, please drop a like and think about subscribing to the channel. Like I said, I've got, if you want to, I'm here to answer some questions. If you guys want to ask questions. This knife does need lubricated, and I'm going to show you how I lubricate a knife without taking it apart. This is one of the things. Now, here's the deal. These stones are permeable. These Shapton Pro water stones, these whetstones, do not use any oil. You see what I'm doing right now? I'm cleaning this up and I'm putting these stones away. Oh, I got an itchy nose. Putting these stones away before I do what I'm about to do, before I even take the cap off of that oil. I'm putting these stones away because you get oil on a stone that's meant for water, and you're going to have to get a new stone. It just ruins them, especially the aluminum oxide water stones. So everything that is susceptible to that. There is a lot of people like, oh, you have to take this. Like, this is why I'm going to show you why knives that are done with bearings better than knives that are done with washers. One, washer knives typically you're going to want to use. Spydercos are kind of the exception. I need to put this away. Give me a moment. Give me a moment and let me know if the audio changes. I think we got the audio fixed, but let me know if you guys can still hear me every bit as clearly in the kitchen. I think we got it figured out. I think we got my microphones connected properly. Did the audio change at all? Did we get it figured out? I mean, you're gonna have like position of my head and things like that. So with a knife that runs on washers, you pretty much have to take the knife apart, and you are going to need to use fluorinated grease. I recommend that. This is really bothering me. I'm sorry, guys. We are going to switch back. Sorry. It makes my forehead itch. So with a knife that runs with a knife that runs on bearings, you can wash this out because there's a gap in between the bearings and the blade. If you look down in your knife, you can see that little gap and you can see the individual bearings, right? These run on washers, but they're kind of the exceptions. These ones don't work. Spydercos don't work as well with fluorinated grease. Now, most other washer knives, you're going to want to use grease on the washers, on Sebenzas, on most of the other knives that run on washers. With bearings, it's easy. With a washer knife, I got to take it apart. I got to reapply the grease, right? On this knife, I'm going to show you exactly how I oil it. So if you look here, you can see that there's a little itty bitty gap between the blade and the scale on each side, right? I got dog hair that's in my eye. It's like on my face now. It's touching my eyeball. So I'm going to take this little needle oiler. I'm going to take the top off of it. I'm going to take a little drop. I'm going to put one drop on one side, put one drop on the other side. Capillary action is going to draw it down in. I'm going to give it a second. I'm going to wipe off the excess oil that's coming up out of that for some reason. Right? I'm going to let it soak in for a second, and then I'm going to manipulate this knife a couple times, and I got news for you. Brilliant. All done. I don't have to take this knife apart. The nice thing about bearings, especially knives that have larger bearings in areas that you can get to, even when they get dirty, I can take this knife, I can wash it under the sink, and it still is going to get in between those bearings. And then I'm going to put a drop on either side, just like I did on that one, and it's going to soak down in, and it's going to get on the bearings, and I'm going to be able to lubricate. You don't even have to. On this one, I can get to the lock bar. You see there where I can have a gap there. I don't know if you guys can see it because I can't bring you in real close. The detent ball is there. If you want to lubricate your detent ball, you can also get, I like the KPL Heavy for that. It's a gel. That does not need it, but the KPL Heavy works really well. Yeah, if you get sand in your washers, you got to take them apart. With a knife that runs on bearings, if you get sand in it, which I've tested this on my Microtech DOC, as a matter of fact, got sand in it, took it to the sink, washed it out really good. The fuck was that? Washed it out with hot water really good. Put a couple drops down in it. Put a couple drops of oil down in my Microtech DOC. No problem. So I don't understand, like, people like, oh, if you can't make it, like, you shouldn't be making knives with bearings. They're supposed to be done on washers. And I'm like, do you like Blu-ray, VHS, or DVD? Because I'm gonna tell you what, I get a much better viewing experience from Blu-ray than I did from VHS. He's such a good boy. A dog just walked right by. He didn't even try to get up. He knows you're a good boy. I don't know if he's even awake. I understand if you like knives that run on washers, that's fine. You can say that. But saying that knives that run on washers are better, it's counterproductive. It's a nostalgia thing. I can appreciate guys that make super smooth knives on washers. I just think that knives that run on bearings are superior. They're easier to clean. They're easier to lubricate. They're easier to maintain. All that. I have to take my Sebenza apart at least twice a year, whether I carry it and use it or not, because the fluorinated grease starts to break down. You got to clean it up. You got to get the old grease out of there, and you got to put fresh grease in. Now, is it easy on a Sebenza? Yeah, it's not hard at all. You don't even have to take, for a Sebenza, you don't even have to take the knife all the way apart because of the way they build it and things like that. There are some things that I'll agree nostalgia is cool. Like the way we used to interact. Like, when I think of nostalgia, I'm thinking of things like how we interacted in person as opposed to social media. Like actually going places with your friends, being able to sit down and have a conversation with your friends and not get interrupted because somebody decides they want to check Facebook or Instagram and have a conversation, and like 8 of you are sitting around a table and 4 of you are on your fucking phones. I miss that. And I do understand I make a living on social media right now. That, I'm nostalgic for that. But I'm absolutely not nostalgic for cars that were naturally aspirated, cars that didn't have AC. I'm not nostalgic. Actually, you know what? I kind of am. This is the one I will agree with. Do you guys remember when dimmer switches in cars were a little button up on the very left-hand side and you hit it with your toe, as opposed to needing to fuck around with something else, take your hands off the steering wheel? That I am nostalgic for. But there's a lot of things that, like, we look back on it like, oh, we need to go back to that. I'm like, no, we don't, because that would be going backwards, going back to all knives running on washers. If you like them, that's fine. I'm just saying, I want the butterfly windows back. Yeah, suicide doors. Suicide doors were, they were fancy. They were fancy. But yeah, there's a lot of things in the knife world that people are like, oh, we need to just go back to this. And I'm like, I think you're wrong. I will admit, a lot of people like some, I will admit, I like some of the old school steels. 14C28N is one of my favorite steels. This knife is in 14C28N. It's amazing. I love that steel. It is, until Magna Cut, it was one of the only steels that was purpose built for the cutlery and knife industry. 14C, 12C, amazing. I'm not such a big fan of 5160 and some of those other steels. I'm not, just because I mean, they're really, really rust prone and things like that. I do like the edges they take. But 14C28N is an older steel, and people are like, oh, it's a garbage budget steel. I was like, you are insane. It was the super steel, and in my opinion, is still one of the best steels out there. It's a great, great steel. My problem with some of the new modern super steels, the grain structure is too fine. They don't get me where I want to go. What, the volume's low? I can't adjust your volume on your device for you. Did the volume get low for everyone, or is just Joseph need to find his volume knob? I'm still connected, and my device is telling me I'm in the yellow, which means that The audio has not changed at all. Unless it kicked off. No, that's fine. That's what I thought. Joseph, there's a little button on the side of your phone. If you push it, hold your phone like this, there's two. Well, if it's an iPhone, there's two. If you're holding it and you're looking at it, so this finger controls the up, this finger controls the down. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you. I'm picking on you. So yeah, I don't get it. I prefer bearing knives just because they're easier to take care of. I don't have to take them apart as often. I do have to say that Spyderco has gotten some of the smoothest. They have got some of the smoothest knives that you can flick that run on washers. This runs on washers. So does my military. That is super, super smooth. But I don't understand this. Their knives want to run on washers, but they don't run well on grease. The Sebenza, super, super smooth, runs on washers, but it won't run on oil. Like it's shitty when you try and use oil or CL or KPL. They both run on washers. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if it's how the knife is assembled and how this pivot is shouldered, and so there's a little gap, so there's not as much pressure on the washer as there would be in some other knives where you're maybe not getting the benefits of the grease. I don't know. But I do know that these two knives both run on washers, both are super smooth, and if you put grease in these washers, you got to take it back apart and because it won't run smooth. Guys, speaking of sharpening, there's something about crew wear. There is something about crew wear, and there's something about crew wear that Spyderco did. This is the best crew wear I've ever had. Well, these are about a tie, I think. Right? These are about a tie. This is still the factory edge. I have done nothing but strop this. This is still the factory edge on the Spyderco military, and it gets used a lot. That's still a factory edge. I have had this since April. I've had this knife since April. And you can see, let me see if I can bring it in for you so you can see. It's oiled but can you see the lines on this where I've been cutting cardboard and shit with it? Like the lines going through this knife gets used all the time. This is incredibly, so this is the Spyderco Military 2. This is my favorite Spyderco. Well, I think this is the best Spyderco they make. My favorite's the Police. This is the Chris Reeves Sebenza, also running on washers. It's a completely different animal. This is hollow ground. This is an absolute beast of a work knife. I love this thing. But this one needs taken apart. You know what? Let's do that quick. I'll show you why the Sebenza is easy for a washer knife. I don't have to take it all the way apart. Let's see. Where's my tools? So I don't have to take this knife all the way apart for a Sebenza. I simply have to take, is this the right Allen key? Yeah. So small little Allen. I simply, see how the screw pushes up? I'm simply going to push that up, and then I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to completely remove the screw and the pivot. The screw and pivot, any one of these can be the pivot. Doesn't matter. They're all the same because there is a pivot bushing. So I simply am going to pull this up. I'm going to take the blade out, and I'm going to re-lubricate these with some fluorinated grease. When I get done, I'm not going to do the full thing because I would have to. When I get done, I'm going to take this. There's a bushing in the middle of there that's going to line it up. I'm going to make sure that that fits. I'm going to push that right back in. I'm then going to grab my pivot. It's actually pretty clever how they did this. I'm going to grab my pivot, I'm going to push it through. I'm going to grab this back again. I'm going to put this in. I'm just going to tighten it down until it stops. And that's all you have to do for a Sebenza. Now, this, I didn't clean it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back apart, do what I just did, but I'm going to clean those washers that are in there, and I'm going to put a quick light coat of fluorinated grease on it. This one is in S35VN. I think they do them, I don't remember what steel they're doing them in now, but this model is a few years old. I got this one back in, I want to say 2000. Oh, I can tell you, it's got the date on it. 2016. This is a 2016 model. The date stamp is this. So this was January 2016 when this was made. So, oh, sent me a message on the Gilded. Let's see. I don't go in there, guys, all the time. I apologize for the paying members. Gilded. Gotcha. I gotcha. So you changed your name again. I don't like Magna Cut, which is why I haven't gotten a new one. I had a Sebenza for years. I had a Sebenza for years. I got rid of it. It was in BG52 steel, I think was what was BG42, whatever it was. I got rid of it. I sold it, immediately regretted it, bought another one, which was this one. They were doing them S35VN. It's a very, very good steel for this knife. It's got a coarser edge on it because I use it for a lot of different stuff. Magna Cut, I think, is going the wrong direction. I think it's too fine. For me, personally, I just wouldn't buy one in Magna Cut. They had been doing these in S45VN for a while. But, you know, hey, I understand where they're going. They're trying to provide high-quality materials. Magna Cut is very, very, very rust resistant. Okay. Did you used to be BWD? I only got one message. Only got one message. Oh, okay. Yeah, BWD. It shows up at Knife's Tale. That's not what it was showing up as. Sometimes when you pick a handle, sometimes it doesn't show up for a little while. So maybe that's what it was. Okay, BWD, I got it. So, guys, been doing this for 120 minutes. I would appreciate, like I'm going to end it like this, if you guys have not thought about dropping super chats for content creators that you enjoy. I put a lot of work into this live feed in particular. My shoulder's going to hurt for like 3 days because of that. If you like people's content, just think about dropping a super chat. So, but all I ask is you drop a like. So, guys, my shoulder really hurts. So I'm going to get off of here. I got to clean this mess up before my wife gets home so that I have access to the sink before she comes home and starts getting stuff ready for dinner. So I'm going to get off of here. This has been fun. It was a good live feed. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Think about if you're looking for Christmas gifts, I have a ton of affiliate links down below. All of them are, they directly support the channel. So, guys, I'm out of here. I love y'all. Take it easy, and I'll see you guys next video. There's a pre-recorded video that's going up tomorrow. What's a super chat? It's basically like when you see super chat, you can pick, you can donate, like you can send a message with like a $5 gift, and it supports channels. So channels that are monetized can do that, and you'll see down below is like super chat, and you can pick like a monetary amount to send if you want. I don't talk about it too much, but like I said, if you're watching a live feed, mine or someone else's, you can do that. You can also do it on pre-recorded videos if you like their content. It just lets them know. First of all, it just lets them know that the amount of work that you put into it was not unappreciated, and I'm not going to make a penny on this live feed. I basically just donated 2 hours of my time to show you guys sharpening knives. So, not that I care. like I said, what I really want you guys to do is subscribe to the channel and then watch all the other videos that I do make money on. So at any rate, go find the one that is the most popular right now, which is the movie knives that you were lied to, like movies lied to us. Oh yeah, see, like that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Super chat, super thanks, super likes, whatever they are at any point. For channels that you appreciate their content, it's a nice thing to do. When I was working, I would do it for channels, but currently laid off. This is the only income I make, and like I said, I made $5. Well, actually, I made 70% of $5 because YouTube takes 30% of every super chat. So, guys, that's it. I love you all. I'm out of here. I got to get this done before my wife gets home.